Welcome back to another video. As always, my name's Jasper and we're doing something a little bit different today. Instead of doing a Webflow tutorial, what I'm actually going to be doing is having a bit more of a conversation around ChatGPT and just sort of business ideas and products you could create around that. I'm doing that because I've had a few requests from people wanting me to dive a bit further into ChatGPT, so I thought this would be a good video to really just for people to get an idea of the actual business cases you can use it for, and maybe you can start your own products or SaaS products online and actually make a bit of money from it. But when you think about it, this sort of product or platform, I guess you would say, can really be used in a lot of different ways. So how this is going to work is first we're going to dive into the business ideas, and then after that I'll actually show you a product that I made. It was really quickly made, but it actually could be turned into a SaaS product if I wanted to. It depends if I want to sort of push it, but we'll dive into that afterwards. But so first let's just have a chat around the business ideas for ChatGPT. So number one would be recruitment. Now I know what you're thinking, how could ChatGPT help recruitment? Well, it would really be helping the recruitment agents. Now, I'm not too sure if you know too much about recruitment industry, but they obviously go through hundreds if not thousands of different CVs, and they all store those on their databases as well, so usually within their CRMs. And when they got them in their CRMs, they do have tags usually, but they got to keep that stuff up to date a lot. Where instead what you could do is using ChatGPT is you could actually have it search the different PDFs, different documents of all the CVs and look for certain keywords for them, and even multiple at that point. So what you could really do is if you trained it well enough, you could ask it simple questions like, let's say for example, I'm looking for people between this age, or maybe not even age. Let's say I'm looking for people in this area that have experience with Webflow, HTML and CSS. And then if you train the ChatGPT, it would be able to go through all the different CVs or resumes depending on the country you're in, and it would be able to find all the people that fit that criteria and then feed it back to them. So that's an example right there. That's a product that somebody could create, could turn into a SaaS product and actually charge a monthly fee to recruitment agencies. So there's idea number one. Idea number two is data analysts. So with data analysts, they obviously go through a lot of different data and they've got to present that to the clients. And when they present the clients, they usually have PDFs and documents answering a lot of questions, just these things they find important. And they usually go through really a process that they use on each client the same a lot of the time. Sometimes they have different wants and needs and information, but the process is usually done around the same. So what they could do there is a data analyst could still do their job, obviously wouldn't be replacing them, but instead of just providing a PDF or a document with all the answers, they could actually connect ChatGPT to go into the data itself. So once you've trained it, a business owner or whoever's going to be using that data and wanted the analyst to do the job, they'd be able to type certain questions within ChatGPT, and then ChatGPT would be able to go through all the data analyst files, everything they created, all the data they found, and then really give them an answer. So instead of just having to look at what's on the report, they'd actually be able to ask real world questions and get results and answers to their questions, which would also save the data analysts a lot of time as well, because they wouldn't have to go back and forwards with the client all the time. So that was an interesting one that I think would work quite well. Next is analytics reporting. So analytics could be, let's say, a popular one, Google Analytics. So even though Google Analytics is quite a simple platform, I guess people forget, definitely I do sometimes, that other people aren't as tech savvy. So when they go onto Google Analytics, they just see all this stuff and they just really don't know how to get the answers they're looking for, what they're really even looking at. And a lot of the time they just have a question that they want the answer to, but they don't know how to get it. So with that in mind, if you had ChatGPT, you managed to give it a bit of training around Google Analytics so it knows what it's looking at, all the different sort of metrics, and connect it up to their Google Analytics dashboard, well, what you could really have is business owners and less tech savvy people just typing in the question that they want an answer to, whether it's how many people on the website at this date, what was their conversion rate at this time period or for this type of advertising, and then ChatGPT would be able to come back with an answer and give them the exact answer they're looking for. So I think that's quite an interesting one. It wouldn't be too hard to pull off, so I might look into that myself, because yeah, it'd be quite interesting. There might be a use case for it, there might not be. yeah, could take a look into it. Let me know what you think in the comments section if you think any of these would be useful or not. And then we've got number 4, and that's HubSpot reporting. So I guess I came from a sales background, and when it comes to managers, definitely sales managers and team leaders, they keep a lot of metrics when it comes down to what the sales team are doing. HubSpot is just an example. It could be any CRM really. But let's say they want to know how many calls they're making, how many of those are converting, what's the sort of time frames that they're doing, how long's the call, all that sort of data. Is just sitting within CRMs like HubSpot, and they usually have to go to the dashboards or you have to search it, do the maths. It really depends on how they have it set up. But if you then connect it up, let's say ChatGPT, once again you trained it and gave it its modeling data to know what it's looking at and what to do, then you could have managers and team leaders really just asking the questions and getting the results given to you by ChatGPT. So it could say, for example, if you wanted to know what's the conversion rate of one of your staff, it would then be able to produce a result of how many calls they made and how many of those went into sales and what the conversion rate is. And obviously you could do more advanced stuff with it. That's just a simple example there. So I think that's one's actually quite relevant and could probably work quite well definitely for people that run larger sales team and have a lot more data to look through. And this one I found quite interesting is interactive FAQ. So FAQ stands for frequently asked questions. Now I'm sure we've all seen them. You go to a website and it's just got a few, let's say 10 questions there of what they believe is frequently asked. Well, instead imagine if there was no frequently asked questions sitting there, and instead it was just a little chat box. And what you could do is you could have hundreds if not thousands of questions that the business has been asked over the years or that you think clients might ask, and you could just feed all that information to ChatGPT, and then instead all a client would have to do, or a potential client, is go on there, type in their question, and then ChatGPT would be able to give you the answer specifically around your business and what they're asking. And I think it might be probably something we're going to see pop up. If it hasn't, or might already be done, I'm not too sure. But it would be quite an interesting one. I think pretty good for the clients, pretty good for the business. You'll be able to answer a lot more questions than you would be on a normal website. And I guess it would be a lot easier for the user as well, because they wouldn't have to try to search through all the questions to see if they can find their one. Maybe they can ask a bit more specific questions and the answers might be there. And the business themselves can really jam pack a lot more answers in there. And so that's the top 5 that I sort of thought of today. But let's jump into sort of how that would process. Now this is a very simple diagram, but this is to kind of explain how easy it would be to have these sort of integrations of what we talked about here for these business ideas. Because all it really is one is a question, and that question's been set to ChatGPT, and then ChatGPT is just going to go to the database where all the data is sitting. So whether that's within the CRM or the analytics, or whether you've got a preset database or you're feeding the information to, and it's obviously you would already have it trained before it's been launched, so it knows what to do with that data. And then once it's gone through the data, it's read it then fires back the question and the answer right back to the user. And it's just that simple, and just keeps on going around like that. But let's dive into one that I created. So what we got here is obviously a simple page, nothing fancy. Like I said, it just did in a couple of minutes. But what this does is allow you to ask them to write you an article. So we've got to speed up the writing process with the help of ChatGPT. Now obviously there's lots of different sort of platforms out there that are doing this, but I just thought this was a nice sort of real world example. So you can see here I said write a 300-word article about Webflow, and there it went. It just wrote an article about Webflow. So let's try it again. If we go write a 300-word article about, let's say, ChatGPT. It's going to write about itself. Let's go submit. I still haven't sorted out the redirecting. It redirects to the address that it uses on Make, but it has been accepted. So let's go back. All right, and let's refresh our page. Wait for it to load. Actually, I know what I forgot to do. So if we go over to integrations, I got to go run once. So I hadn't set it up to run yet. I knew I was going to do that. So let's do that again. We'll say write a 300-word article about ChatGPT. Now you can see it's waiting for something to come through. So let's fire that through. There we go. And then it's processing. So OpenAI is writing it right now. And then it's sent it back to Webflow, straight into the CMS. So let's go back here, refresh the page. There we go. And there you have it. It's written a 300-word article about ChatGPT. So right there you've got, this will be useful for people that run blogs and things like that, whether it's professional ones or just sort of ones they do in their spare time. It can also just kind of help you get a bit more content as well. You don't have to just use exactly what it pulls out, but if you're trying to write about a topic and you just don't have all the information that you want, or you just can't get it started, this is a great way to really get the article started, and you can start changing it from there, adding a bit more of your natural self into it, so it's not just AI generated, and then really sort of slims down that writing time. But as you can see, this is a very simple example of a SaaS product that you could do. You could easily obviously make it a lot nicer, have a better UI and UX, and then charge, let's say, $5 a month, so people can come in, write articles as they need them, and it's just that simple. But let's take a dive into how it works. Now, any of these products that I do mention, these platforms I do mention on here, you'll be able to find the links in the description, and I make sure to use either free ones or ones that have free trials, so people like yourself can actually give them a go without having to pay anything. So what happens is we're using Webflow, OpenAI, and make.com. As I said, make.com, there will be a link in the description. Now, what happens is make.com is really the one that's integrating it. It's all automation. So it allows us to connect Webflow up with OpenAI. So how this works is we've got let's say the Webflow website, and I've selected it, and you will get an address here. So we got that address, and then all that happens is this form sends an action request, so a post request, to that address. And then it's got one field, and that field is technically called name. There's nothing special there, I just left it as name. And then what happens is when it submits, it comes through, grabs that data, which is the name, and sends it to OpenAI. Now, as you can see here, it's got name as the prompt, so it's using whatever written in this box here as the prompt. And then it's using the new model, DaVinci. We've got max tokens, temperature, top P and N. You can dive a little bit deeper into those sort of settings yourself if you'd like. And then once it's done that, it then fires it back to Webflow. And then Webflow, what it does is it's got to pop it into the CMS. So in here, we've got a built-in CMS where it stores all the articles that were created. And that's how it's appearing up on this page here. And then how it does that is you've got to select the collection, and then the fields that you want the data to go into, and then save. And then all you'd have to do is go run once, and it will let you run it. Now you can run this obviously 24/7, you don't have to run it once. It's just because I'm not using this as a proper product, so I'm just using it as run once, just to show us these examples. But yeah, thank you for watching the video. If you have any questions around Webflow or ChatGPT, feel free to drop them in the comments section, or reach out to me on my website. If you've got any ideas about maybe some things I could cover, or anything you think would be a good idea for me to cover around ChatGPT, let me know. I'm interested in diving into this platform a bit more and seeing what I can create. And I think, yeah, you could do some good stuff, and definitely next year. So enjoy the holidays, definitely the Christmas holidays coming up, so everyone have a good Christmas, and like and subscribe as always if you did like the content. I'm trying to get those subscriber counts up. Thanks for watching.